Greetings, pilgrims, and welcome to another episode of the Polygon Pilgrimage, and today I've got something really cool to share with you. This has been a very requested feature, and I apologize it took some time to get the math right, but here we are inside our little test world. You can see our buildings from the last time that we did our mini-map, and today you can see I have a gun in my hand. We're not doing gun stuff just yet, but we're getting there. You can see I'm working out the UI and all that kind of stuff. But today we are doing random loot system. Okay, so as you can see, I have a gun here that spawned. Let's take a look. That's the only one for that spot. There are, I believe, 7 or 8 spots. There's a spot here. There's a spot here. There is a spot over here. Let's take a look. Okay, so nothing spawned here. There's a spot here where we have a gun that spawned. There's a couple different possibilities here. Let's come over here. There is a spot here. So, oh, here's a gun that spawned in the corner here. And then over here, we have a spot where one gun spawned. We have a spot here, so here's a sniper rifle, very cool. And then one final spot over here, as you can see, there's a gun that spawned here, leaning up against this. So this is our little, test area here, and we've got different guns that have spawned, and I'm going to show you from scratch how to set up the whole system, and it's very modular, and you can create as many possibilities as you want. So for now, if I just hit stop on the play, let's take a look. If I select my foundation, let's make sure that it's zeroed out, which it does for you, but I just want to show you. Now if I hit play again, you'll notice that I haven't done anything else, and there'll be a whole new set of guns set up. So we didn't pick anything from here. Over here, same gun happened to spawn. That's what you get with a randomized system, unfortunately. Let's see. It's a little hard to tell sometimes because it is so random. Here we go. Here's a new item. And then over here, same gun in the corner there. That's okay. But look, different gun up top here. And our sniper rifle is gone, and now we have a smoke grenade, and the same guy did get picked over here. Now, you'll see some things like that happen at the same time over and over again. That's because you're dealing with true randomness. So this is a truly random setup here. So that's why we had the same gun here and there. But that's okay because they look awesome. So who cares if it's the same one every time, right? That's really cool. You can pick up a weapon and just run around and start gunning. So for today, all of these guns are just models, okay? They're not, we haven't set them up as an actual gun. You can't pick them up. There's no prompt. There's nothing. They just are models that show up. But I'm going to show you how to create this system, and let's start with that right now. So here's my whole system, and you can see I have a whole bunch of icons all over the place, and I'm going to make even more. So let's select all of these and unhide everything for now. So we do a couple of these, and you'll see how this works. So each of these areas is a loot spot. So this is a general zone in which you want some kind of loot to spawn. Alright? And then each spot has multiple variants. And these variants are the things that you can determine what kind of a gun, what position you want it to be in. They could just be the same gun all 5 times here, but a different rotation, a different placement over here, so that every time you play the game and you come to this area, you're going to have a different setup. It's going to look a little different, and it's just going to be that much cooler. Okay, so let's keep going here. I'm going to unhide all of these just to show you. Right there they all are. Boom. And then the final section over here, H. Let's unhide all of those. There we go. So there's all the spots. Now, all of these spots are controlled by a foundation. So this foundation object is in the center. Here it is. And you can see here that we have a spawn weight, and this is in a percentage. So right now I have it set to 85 to 100%. That means it's going to pick between 85 and 100% of the spots to spawn one of their variants. Okay, so if I were to put this really low, 20%, there's a chance that it's only going to pick one of them and not more than one. But if I put this really high up here, 80, 85%, 80 to 100%, that means that it's going to pick pretty much all of them, and there might be one that it doesn't pick. So that's how you want to control this. See, I had this set at 85 to 100, and the selected spots, it shows 6 out of them. And I think there's 8 total. Yeah, 0 to 7. So there are 8 total. So it shows 6 out of 8 for 85 to 100%. So it was probably lower, closer to 85, that it shows that. So that's one way in which we can control the randomness. Then, every single spot has its variants. So if you look at these variants over here. So for loot spot A, which is this area right here, there are 5 variants, A through E. Each variant, if we open it up, so this variant is right here, and you can see the variant icon is this little cube icon, little like a treasure chest with the door open. Then we have 2 objects underneath. Right now for this basic example, I'm not including the code that makes the visuals work, and all the visuals is, honestly, it's an empty game object that you can put your visuals in there. So if you wanted to have, say, this happens to spawn a pistol, right? So the visuals, you could put some bullets on top of here. It's not actually part of the pickup, but it's some visual flavor, you know? Then the other important object is the spawn point, and this is the exact point with rotations and position that you want the thing to spawn. And I'll show you how to set all this up. Right now I just want to explain to you what it is, and then we'll go through how to set it all up. So that's one variant. So we have 5 variants for this spot. And then I have 8 spots. So there's a lot of variability here. And you could even cram most of these into just one area. You could go nuts and have 100 loot spots here with each with 100 variants, and you could almost never run out of possibilities. So for now, I just kind of spread it all out around here and wanted to show you basically how it works. So for every single one of these, the loot spot itself has an array you have to fill in of what are my variants, A, B, C, D, E. So all you do is when you create these, so I create this variant, and here's my loot spot, which is the bigger chest. So this represents all of these in this area, and each small chest represents just this one choice. And then the spawn point icon says this is where and how I'm going to spawn this thing. So for the loot spot, you have to tell it what are all the ones that it should care about. And all you do is when you create these, it's an empty game object, and you name it. I just named them variant A through whatever letter. Once you've created that, you apply the script. Then you have to tell it what is the loot you want it to spawn. And here is where, once you create a fully functioning weapon pickup, you would just drag and drop that into here. Then you create, as a child of this, a spawn point object and drag that spawn point into that spot right there. So you tell it, this thing, I want you to use this spawn point. That's very important because there's a lot of spawn point objects in here and you don't want to get them crossed. There you go. So then what the foundation does is the same kind of thing. This object, I just put it roughly center to the entire area. This object, as you can see, has an array of 8 spots because I've chosen 8 locations. And the same thing, once I've created everything I want for this loot spot, I just go to my foundation and say there are 8, and I drag and drop them. So here's loot spot A, I would drag and drop it right into there. And you can see here, what I've done is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, but A is twice, right? That means I've confirmed that there's not going to be anything possibility of spawning over here, because I wanted to double up on A to make sure something spawned here. You still can't be sure because it is random, but within limits you can. So what I can do now is bring B back over here. Now B is now a part of this list. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. So all of them have a possibility of being chosen. Then with the percentage here, the foundation will say, okay, I have 8 possibilities and you told me to select between 85 and 100% of them. So say I choose, let's go down, let's make this real easy, between 50 and 100%. That means choose either half of them or choose all of them, or somewhere in that range, right? So let's say it chose 50, right on the nose. So it's going to look at 8 things and it's going to say, I'm going to randomly pick 4 of them. And the way it does this is it randomly picks 1, adds that to another kind of hidden array, and then it says, now take this array and subtract that 1, and now run it again. So that means once I've chosen A, I can't choose A again. So it's guaranteed to be 4 different ones. Now, in the future, we could set a toggle to say, you know what? I want you to be able to pick more than once and tell that loot spot to tell its variants, go ahead and pick another variant. So we can work that out in the future, but for now, we're just eliminating possibilities. So it'll pick 4 random spots. Then it will tell each spot, hey, for the spots code, it calls a function in the spot code and says, pick one of your children, one of the variants. And at the beginning of the game, each of these is hidden from the world. Each of the variants you set to hidden, and I'll show that to you. Because what we want to do is they all kind of exist all at once, but then we want to say, let's make you all invisible and hidden, and then we're just going to pick one of you to bring back to visibility, back to the world. This makes it very easy to set up, so we can make sure that we're going to have, multiple options. And then once we've set up all of our options, we can just say, okay, we're good now. We don't want to worry about anything else. And now I can just collapse all of these. Collapse, collapse, collapse. And now you can see how nice and neat this all becomes. this one object, and you can see some of the loot spot icons. We can tell whereabouts I'm going to get some loot. Now we can add one together, which we'll do. We'll add some like over here or over here. There's some possibilities, right? So now let's run it again just to show you that it's all working. Now it's going to pick a bunch, and you can see over on the right under selected spots there, it's chosen 5. It's chosen B, F, D, C, and G. So B should be over here. Yep, here you go. So it shows our sniper rifle right there. Very cool. And then here's a pistol right here that we haven't seen before yet. Let's come over here. It did not pick any from here, so that's interesting. Over here, we chose the little Uzi in there, okay. Our sniper rifle came back. Over here, nothing. So that means we have to have one over here. Yep, this guy here. There you go. So we can tell kind of where it's choosing. Now, I did notice something kind of strange. If you stop, you'll notice that this kind of changes after the fact. I think it's a buffering issue. I haven't figured that out yet, but these are the ones that it chose, but it doesn't kind of show it when we run. So I keep zeroing this out, even though it doesn't matter. I zero it out just so that visually I can see that, understand it. Okay, the other thing you will surely have noticed by now is that I have a whole bunch of custom icons all over the place, right? So let's take a look at where is D. One of these is not hidden. There you go. You need to be hidden. There we go. I have a bunch of custom icons all over the place, like the loot spot icon. We've got the foundation icon, which is really cool. Here's another one, which I have to find this guy. Somehow you got unhidden. There you go. I think it unhid the ones that we chose. That's why you gotta have them all hidden when you start. There we go. So I have the spawn point icons as well. And then I have the 2 loot icons. So the loot spot, the big chest, and the variant for the small chest, right? Okay, sorry, these all got unhidden and I didn't mean to. So we just hide those for a quick second. So I'm going to show you how we went about getting those icons as well. That's not a big deal at all. Let's hide that variant and hide this variant. This is a cool variant. I like this one. Just lays on top there. Pretty cool. So I'll show you how to create these custom icons. Well, not create them, but how to, once you have an icon, you can bring it in. And I'll include them in the pack, so don't worry about that. You'll have all 4 of these down here. So these are just images I made in Photoshop, and they're all 256 by 256. And then when you bring them in, make sure that when they're here, you go up here and choose Editor GUI and Legacy UI is what I chose, just to make sure that it's clear that it's for the editor. And then under the default section here, turn the compression to none, because I want it to be nice and crisp when I'm looking at it in the editor to know where things are, where should I go to find things. So just set it to none. Hit apply, and then it will turn on the transparency to get rid of the background. So now we have the icons imported here, but how do I give objects in the world my custom icon? It's super duper easy. So I'm going to right click and say create empty. So here's an empty game object floating in the world right here in front of me. And all you have to do is go up here, and where you see the name of the object, there's a little check mark to make it visible or not in the world. Right next to it, this is the custom icon, which right now is none. It'll just show the transform wizard here. But if you click this, then you can choose all kinds of things. So there's these kinds of things where it will give you the name of the thing. So if I choose test object, there you go. So there's all kinds of options for that, different colors, all kinds of things. You can even choose a little circle thing or a little diamond thing. Very cool. Or if you click other, then you can search for an icon. And anything you have in your inventory of items here, you can just choose. So any of these things. So some of these are pretty cool, like time. This is pretty cool. I used this before in another project to say that this is a time pickup, just so I could see it in the world and it's something easy to pick up and choose. But if you want the ones that we have in the pack, once you've imported everything, RLS, so for random loot system, and then you can pick which one you want. So if this is a spawn point, you choose spawn point. If it's, you know, a variant, loot, or foundation, you just pick which one. And there you go. Very nice and easy. So to extend and how do we build this system, I'll show you. It's very easy. So we have this object here, right? And I'm going to give it the appropriate icon, right? Foundational icon. There we go. So this foundation icon, that's all it is. And then I'm going to give it the appropriate script, foundation script. There you go. And I'm going to say I want between, I don't know, 40 and 70% of the objects. You have to make sure that this first number is lower than the second number. You can't do this or it's going to give you errors. And I'm not responsible for what happens when you do that. Then the number of loot spots. I recommend at least 2. If you have 1, you may get errors where it will crash Unity because it's trying to do random choice of 1. I apologize, it's probably just my bad code, but make sure it's at least 2. If you're doing randomization, you probably want variance anyway, right? So from this object, which I'm going to rename this to foundation 2, just so that we know it's different from this foundation. Now, as you can see here, we have loot spot A. We're just going to copy this kind of setup right here, okay? So I'm going to right click and say empty, and let's call this loot spot. Very cool. And now for the loot spot, as you can see, it has its own script. So let's select our loot spot and let's drag and drop on our loot script. There we go. And the variants, we want to have, let's say, 3 variants, okay? Now, for our loot spot, I'm going to right click, create empty, and call this variant. And again, it has its own script, variant. There you go. Now for the variant, remember up here we have two things, the visuals and the spawn point. So I'm going to right click, empty, visuals, which we're not using right now, but you can use in your project, and then spawn point. This is the important one. There we go. So now that we've created one, you notice everything is stacked on top of here because we're not doing anything with it yet. What I'm going to do is collapse all of this, and for the variant, I'm just going to hit duplicate 2 more times. Then I'm going to go up to the loot spot and hit duplicate 2 more times. And now if I expand everything, you'll see that we have multiple loot spots with multiple variants. And we need to rename everything and make it all nice and clean, but we made a lot of options very quickly. Let's bring this over here, and we're just going to do some additional setup. So let's do this. We'll bring this over here, actually, and we're going to do a couple of additional variants with this as our foundation, okay? And this can go literally anywhere you want. It doesn't really matter. I just kind of put it, again, generally where the area is that the loot is going to be spawning, right? So now, loot spot 1 for this. We need an icon for it, so let's do that. Select the icon, RLS, loot spot. Now we should have done this for all of them, so we can fix that pretty quickly. Let's just delete our other 2, and we'll do it correctly once, and then we don't have to do it. So let's delete everything except our 1 loot spot, our variant, our visual, our spawn point. So for the loot spot, we set the icon. For the variant, let's set the icon. This is a better way to do this. There we go. And for the spawn point, let's set the icon. There it is. And I named everything RLS at the beginning, as you see I've done with BRS, so that this is the random loot system, and then underscore. So that way you just type RLS and you get all the icons for all of it in the filtering. Very cool. Okay, so that's all set now. You can see they're all stacked on top of each other. Now we can go up to our loot spot, or sorry, our variant, dupe it twice, go to loot spot, dupe it twice, Control D to duplicate. And now we can say, okay, loot spot A1, whatever you want to call it. Let's put that over here. And I'm being very general. You notice I just kind of drag it over there-ish. Loot spot 1, 2, we'll go over here, and 3, we'll go over here. There you go. Okay, now for each of these, this is the fun part, / slightly tedious, but I'll do 1 or 2 of them and just kind of leave the rest to you to show you roughly how it works. So for each of these, we have to decide what it is we're going to do. So for first of all, foundation, we have 3 in total, so let's do that. So drag each of the loot spots, so loot spot, and then this one's called loot spot 1, put that there. Loot spot 2, we'll put that one there. There you go. Now, for the loot spot, we have to put all of its variants. Variant 1, variant 1, which is 2, 1, 2, and that, like that. Very good. But now for this loot spot, it's different ones. We can't use the same ones, so we have to make sure that we drag and drop. Even though they're named the same, they're technically different objects. They have a different ID underneath. So you want to make sure that you don't just duplicate, because then if you duplicate, it's going to be using the first 3 and not these other ones that you're creating. So you're going to end up doing extra work. All right, so now we're all set. Now we can start varianting things up, which is a lot of fun. So for the variant, first we want to say, here's the spawn point. So let's do that. spawn point, and spawn point. And now for each of these, the best way to figure out how you're going to put objects is what I do is I'll go to my assets here, and I have this thing called guns, and I'm just going to lock that. So then if I select things, I get that thing, but this stays. Now, for our first variant here, I'm going to say, what do I want to spawn? I want to spawn a pistol. And then I'm going to put a pistol underneath my spawn point as a child to my spawn point. Now, here's the very important part. Pay attention. Click the spawn point, and you're going to edit the spawn point's position, and you'll see that the pistol will go with it. Okay, so I'm going to put a pistol over here, and I'm going to rotate it about 90 degrees. Now put it on the ground. This is the fun part, is decorating the world. Just a little bit in the sand, and then move it over here, and we can rotate it a bit more. Here you can get very particular. This is purely visual for your game. So there you go. So that is where loot spot 1, variant 1, is going to go. And then when you're all done with that, you make sure that in variant it says pistol, that the spawn point is the correct one, and then I just delete the pistol. Because now the spawn point has all of the rotation and positional information we just gave it. So now the spawn point is what's actually going to spawn that object. Very cool. And then lather, rinse, repeat, really, for all the rest of them. So just to make things simple, I'm just going to do the one here and show you just another idea. So for this one, we're going to do the UMP5, which is cool. Spawn point, boop, and then put the UMP5 underneath the spawn point. Now take the spawn point and we can move it around. So let's rotate it about 90 degrees, and then we'll put it up on top of the wall. Right? A nice spot where you can run by and pick it up. Something like that. Very cool. And then again, go to your UMP5 and delete it. Because now that spawn point knows about where it's going to spawn. And you'll notice that the spawn point doesn't look like it's right on top of the wall. That's because of the pivot, pardon me, for the gun is different from this. But the gun is purely visual to that and the object. So that pivot might be different. So that's why there's a bit of an offset there. Now, if you have objects that spawn absolutely at this spot, if you've zeroed everything, say they're all things that just snap to the ground, then yeah, it would be right at that point. So there you go. So that's basically how that works. That's only 2 variants for that, but that's all we really need for our demonstration. So I'm going to delete the rest, and let's just delete the rest. We don't need this. And I'll try to show you how this works. So foundation, we only have 2 variants, 1 loot spot. I said not to do that, didn't I? Okay, well... Okay, we'll undo and we'll do 2 loot spots. So loot spot 2 over here, let's be really quick and only do 2 variants to that as well. Just to make sure that we're not, see now here it says it's missing because I changed my mind. So I'll tell it 2, and then we'll go loot spot 1 right there, loot spot 2 right there. There you go, that's good. So we'll just be quick because I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this. I want you guys to kind of see roughly how it works, and we'll go over there, just so they're a little different. Now for this variant, let's spawn one of these little smoke grenades, and I'll say spawn point right there, smoke grenade in the spawn point, and now move the spawn point around, so down over here on the ground. And we can give it a rotation, so just say whoop, like that. Cool, and then don't forget to delete your object. And now this guy, let's give him something really cool. I like this gun. This is the gun that we have for the M4A1. This is the gun we have for our player right now with the cool ACOG. So we will spawn one of these guys over here. Okay, so he's in there and he got the spawn points, and then I just put him in the spawn point and we move this around. Now it's very important you use the same one that you're going to spawn, because if you happen to say, I accidentally put the sniper in here, well, I'm going to position the spawn point as if I have the wrong gun here, and then when it goes to spawn, you might get clipping and all kinds of weirdness because you're spawning the wrong thing. Alright, let's delete that. And there we go, now we're all set. So we have 2 loot spots with 2 possibilities each. That's a pretty good setup. Right, variant 1. Oh, we need to change this to 2 because we changed our mind. There we go, and 2. There we go. Okay, so 2 there, 2 there, 2 there. Very good. Now, you should be able to just hit play. And our first one is going to work, and then our second one is going to work as well. So our first one, you can see we've still got items spawning. Let's see, did we spawn anything over here? Nope. Over here, got in there. And look at this. So, this guy, he actually chose all of them. I think maybe because I didn't leave them unhidden. So, because they're unhidden, they're all spawning. But it proves that it's spawning items, right? So we've got 2 here, these 2 that we added, and these 2 that we added here. Now, if I have this one selected, you see it says it only chose 1. I think it's because we did not hide everything. Yeah, we did not hide everything appropriately. So let's do that. You have to hide all of your variants before you begin. I believe that's in the code to hide the variants at play, but I'll double check it before I put the code up. Okay, so this guy's doing his thing again. 1 there. So there you go. So we only chose one of those 2. We only chose this one over here, and we only chose this one and not this one. We didn't choose any of these 2. But there you go. It randomly selected one, and we have all of our random selections from the other spots here. So there's AK in the corner, which is really cool. This guy is pretty neat. He's resting on the sandbags. And this is one of my favorites. I don't know. It just looks cool. Run over here, pick up a sniper, and start. So anyway, we've chosen our random loot, and it's looking good, and we've proven that we can extend it with additional foundation objects. And so after you've created these foundation objects and all of these objects, you can actually turn these into prefabs. So you can take these, like, see, it's not doing that properly. So I'll fix that for you. But you can turn these into prefabs. You can have just a generic variant A with nothing chosen for the loot, and with the appropriate spawn point underneath of variant A selected in there, and then put that as a prefab down here, and you can drag and drop them into the world and set them up. Now, a couple caveats. Make sure that you have more than one possibility, because again, you can have errors where it will freeze Unity because it's trying to think about how to randomly pick one out of a list of 1, which doesn't seem like it should be that hard, but computers struggle with that kind of thing. And I will fix the code here to make sure that everything is hiding itself appropriately before we begin. And yeah, that looks good. So we're all set. Hope you guys have enjoyed very much. This is a really neat little visual pack. By the way, this pack I bought from the asset store, and I'll be doing a little bit of a review on it. It's actually really good, but there were some problems with it. And one of the main problems is it does not include this little scene. And this little scene I created from the screenshot they have. So what I'm going to do is, with my review, talk to the owner of the pack and see if I can provide this little setup here as a prefab. So only if you've bought the pack, you'll be able to pull the prefab in and just have this right away. So I'll speak to them about that and see if we can do that for you guys, because it's a really nice little pack and high quality stuff, and it just looks fantastic. So I am working on the gun stuff, so don't you worry, that's coming. As you can see here, a little sneak peek. We've got all the weapon sets and everything working in here, and we're working out all the way that we can do things. So there's a lot of gun stuff coming. I'm still working out some of the animation stuff, so give me some time, but I'm working on it. I got lots going on. But I appreciate you guys who have been kind and patient and are working with me. I know there's always issues with some things. You guys have problems and things don't work, but work with me. Follow the steps exactly, please, and try to do a little bit of research before you come and say it doesn't work. And I want to help you, and please use the Discord. Go to the Discord in the appropriate channel, in the help channel, post all of your questions, because I want it to be a community event. I want everybody to pitch in and work together. So please help me, help you guys, help everybody else, and the whole thing grows, and that makes me feel really good. So thank you again for your kind time and attention, and until next time, guys, keep practicing, get better, and I'll see you next time as the pilgrimage continues.